Hi, my name is Zachary Foley, and I will be doing my vlog for chapters 3 and 4. I want to start with the quote, many smartphone users who are reluctant to decrease their digital habits and who actually preferred to remain willfully ignorant of them instead. When you're saying this, I don't believe they're ignorant they don't know the negative sides. I feel like they know about the negative sides, but they choose to think that the positives outweigh the negatives. Yeah, so I don't feel like it's ignorant in the way they don't know. It's that they believe the good outweighs the bad. And they go on to say personal addiction is about personal consequence. And I totally agree with this because when I was younger, my parents were like, "We're gonna take your iPod or phone away," and I'd be like, "Go ahead, do it." It wasn't like my phone didn't hold much power for me when I was at that age, probably up until middle school. But my brother, who's about to be a senior in high school, you take his phone away and he loses it. So it's this weird balance of, is it just, he probably had a phone or technology sooner than I, even though he's 2 years older. He probably grew up with it sooner because 2 years is a lot in our technology world. As we know, as you said earlier, technology is moving faster than medicine. So it moves like that. So he's had it for, I think, longer in his life, so it holds this bigger consequence to him. And you don't want to say that if by definition, if we're all addicts of our smartphones, then then that really demeans the word. And I feel like in our society we do that all the time with many other words, especially in our political climate. We're using all these words and like hate speech and what a true racist is and all that. And we demean these words. If everyone's racist, then the real racists out there, it's not gonna matter. It's not to hold the same value. So I feel like it's not just smartphone addiction thing. It's we classify ditch. If we use a lot of words in our society, we do the same thing. We say it so much, and we say it applies to so many things that we devalue it. And then you go on to say the smartphone companies capitalize on our instant gratification, which leads into FOMO for fear of missing out. And then you go on to say usage causes more usage. And I believe connects directly to FOMO because when we miss out on something and then we realize what we could have missed out, when we use our phone, we realize what we missed out on. So then we're not going to let that happen again. So that usage that we used after missing out makes us use it more. So we're trying. It's that usage upon usage is to combat against FOMO, which affects everyone, not even just my phone. Like when I'm at college, I go to a party because what could happen, and I think that's with the phone. When you pick up that phone, it could be nothing, but you hope that it's something. You don't want to miss out on what could beyond that when you open it up. And then you go on to say about our social biases and how we really can't determine our own usage. And I believe that is social biases in everything. It's not even just in our smartphones and taking those tests. Like I can't take a personality test usually because I'm like, I tell someone my results, they're like, that's not you. So I feel like smartphone usage is to really understand smartphone usage, it's partly on people around you and how they see your smartphone usage, but also it's biased. As older people will be like, you're using your phone too much, but younger people will be like, you're using it about the same. So it's this complex thing of who actually knows what you're doing except yourself, but you're biased, so do you really know if your phone usage is bad for you and what's not. So it's trying to find this unbiased source that can really tell you, yeah, you're using your phone too much and it's causing different things, and also trying to grow your own self-awareness to try to combat that social bias. But that's so difficult because you perceive yourself different than everyone else. And it's interesting because online we train ourselves to perceive ourselves differently because of online things. We show ourselves differently online than we do in person. So we're pretty much training ourselves to have this social bias, and technology is not helping us get rid of that. So taking these tests on technology is kind of interesting because that technology is part of the reason our social bias is going down. And then you go on to talk about how phones amplify our problems. And I thought this was very interesting when you're talking about the typing in the carpal tunnel. They were blaming it on the computers, but it actually was these people had previous DNA stuff like arthritis and diabetes, and it was actually the computer that's amplified it. And a personal example that I saw was in high school a few years ago when the fidget spinners came out, all the fidget toys. Everyone's like, I need it, I have ADHD. But I thought it was interesting because you were talking about how the phones train us to multitask. So have our generation that played with the fidget spinners, where did the ADHD come from our phones, or was us playing with the fidget toys doing that? Because we're like, I think it's the phones, but I try to give it a different. And they go on to talk about the school shooters, and I thought it was really interesting. It was it's so easy to blame the video games, but in reality it was like an added beat, like it was out of withdrawal from said video games, which even furthers the claim of technology being an addiction. So I thought that was interesting that it was because that the week of the shooting their video games had been taken away. It wasn't that they were playing the video game, because as we know, the studies find that doesn't do anything to our perception of violence and make us more violent. So yeah. And then the response on test response times being 90 seconds, and I feel like in certain cases people don't do that. Like my friends, I really don't see them answering that fast, but I try to, because my mom at least has taught me when I'm testing her that it's rude not to answer quickly if you can. So I try to, if I see a text and I can answer it right then, I will, because I've been taught as like now it's parenting that not texting back is rude. So it's been part of a parent's idea of what's being a good person, and not being rude is not answering a text quickly. And then you talked about, no, that's in chapter 2. And then you just go on to talk about how it's so easy to blame technology, and I see it in my own household. My stepfather blames technology for all my brother's issues, for his attention, for all this stuff, which some of it could be that, but he also has Asperger's. Like, the technology is maybe amplifying that, but it's not the technology itself. It's the Asperger's, and finding different ways of not just taking away, because they constantly take away his phone for every little thing he does. I'm like, I don't think it's the phone. Because if he keeps doing it, it's obviously not the phone. So I feel like just in our society, especially with older people, taking away a phone has become this thing, because it's so easy to blame the phone and not take any blame on yourself, or put blame somewhere else that might be more difficult to talk about. And then chapter 2, you talk about being impulsive on our devices, and I believe the truth is I can barely tell you that I pick up my phone without it being a buzz that I feel, or being cited by. It's not deliberate. I'm not like planning my day. It's very impulsive, and yeah. And my favorite section of this whole chapter was the News .0 section, because you were talking about the use and gratification or repeat cycle. How we open up our phones, we hope, like, even if it's bad gratification, we still look at it, and it's a cycle. And in our political climate, that's how it works. We look at these things, we think we're educated, but we're really not. And we keep looking at these headlines and not really looking into them. Like, we, with the Wendy's shooting, everyone said in Atlanta, the guy was like, he was asleep. I'm like, if that's a headline you read, there's an actual primary source video that shows he was asleep. They woke him up, they talked to him, they were trying to arrest him, and then boom, that's when things went bad. Now what happened after that is up, whatever happened, but the headline saying he was killed in sleep, and he wasn't. So I feel like having those primary sources is awesome. Us being able to record stuff like that now is incredible. But we've all been taking on this kind of journalist facade, and we're not journalists. We're not. We have our own opinions, but Twitter, like they were saying, like Twitter has so much power now with the presidency and the president, that what we see on Twitter we almost take as God or truth, and it's an opinion, or it might be a primary source, but it's not. It may not be the exact truth. You need to look further. Like, that's what I try to do, and sometimes people seem mad about that I don't follow the boat, and I'm probably the most moderate person I know in my friend group, because obviously the political system is so polarized, as our society with most things is polarized. Just our society in general is polarized. So that whole chapter, I was just like, I love reading things in a different perspective, like in this political climate, reading about it in a new media and phone perspective, instead of just everything that's going on seems so complicated. Reading it in one way and finding that one side was very eye-opening for me. Yeah, I think that's all I have to talk about. Yeah, hopefully never mind. I will see you next week for chapters 5 and 6.